Look at that. It's still on. Let's transmit into it. K8MRD testing 1, 2. How cool is that? So yeah, that just happened. What's up, guys? My name is Mike, K8MRD. Thanks for tuning into Ham Radio Tube. Today, we are going to be taking a look at the Vero VGC VR-N76 dual band radio that does APRS and has a KISS TNC, so we can do packet Winlink right from our phone, because there's a really cool app that goes with this. So let's talk about it this time on Ham Radio Tube. So first, I got to say a big thank you to Vero for sending these out to me. They sent me a couple so we could kind of play around with them. They also sent me this Bluetooth hand mic. So I kind of want to just show you what I use it for, maybe give you a quick tour around it. Let's get rid of these guys here. As you can see, we've got a color screen. Not my favorite. They decided to make the VFO that's selected red, which is pretty impossible to see outside. You can see the white letters just fine, so hopefully they can get rid of that, but you just long press the back button there and switch the VFOs. You got your PTT on the left, a couple programmable buttons there, keypad. You've got a mic slot here, which is completely useless now, because this whole radio, everything you can do everything on the phone, and you got a Bluetooth hand mic that is really awesome. I used this combination in Florida. I was using my dad's car, and we hooked up an antenna. He didn't have an antenna hooked up to it, so I literally just had the radio sitting on the front seat, and I was using the hand mic to actually talk on the radio, and it works great. It just pairs over Bluetooth, so like if we just turn this on, hear the do-do-do-do. And then see on the screen there, we see it's connected to the hand mic, so we can PTT it just like that. We can use the up and down arrows. Channel 1, to change 9, channel 1, 8, channel 1, 7. The channels. Well, let's turn the voice channel off there, but 1, like it's just 1, cool. 1, it works, and it sounds good too. That's very important. But what really got me was it does APRS, and it does APRS very, very easily. Sending APRS messages just on the keypad is easier than any radio that I've used, but I'm on version 8.81. I just updated it. There was a new firmware that was released yesterday. This KISS TNC, that's what it's all about. This is what allows you to connect the radio to your phone over Bluetooth and use this as a TNC, so you can use packet, Winlink and stuff like that. So that's really what I'm interested in, but it does APRS as well. You can see I got my APRS settings. I'm on -2 right now just because that's what I'm using. I don't really care about the number right now for testing, but it just does it easy. So like, just for example, let's just send an APRS message. We just go to signaling here, send a message, and let's say I want to send it to K8MRD, and then we can use the arrow pad here. I wish there was a button for the dash, but there isn't, so we can just use the arrow button to get the dash, and then go over, whoops, delete that, -2. And then I can say, hi. Okay, done. Now, this radio is on, so I'm just gonna hit OK. And there it is. And then on the other radio, we can just hit you just hit the right or left arrow. And there you can see, that's the message, if I can get it in frame. And there's the message, hi. So on the other radio, if I want to just reply, I just hit menu, reply, and I can say hi to you. It's just like texting on an old cell phone. Done. Sent. And now this radio has it. So let's go back, and we just use the right or the left arrow to cycle through. There's the message. Hi to you. How cool is that? But what really makes this radio shine is how seamlessly it integrates with the app. I am a huge fan of connecting things to my phone because I would much rather use my phone's interface than a little radio, and they do it really well. So let's open up the HT app and we'll show you what it's all about. So I got both radios turned on. You can name them. So you see one is named yellow, one is named desert, and let's connect to the yellow one. So here you can see all the frequencies that I have programmed in here, and you have 32 of them per bank or group basically. And the way you program it, you literally just long press the button. And so let's just call this wilderness. We'll do it live. You can only go so many characters, so that's good enough. And let's say 14658, okay. And for the transmit frequency, 14658 as well. If you have any subtones, like a transmit subtone, here's your CTCSS and your DTCS. So it's got all that stuff. In this case, we'll turn both of those off. Here's your bandwidth. You can just touch the bandwidth and it'll change that. Transmit power will make that high. You've got disable, transmit, mute, talk around, allow, scan. Pre and de-emphasis, I have absolutely no clue what those are, and Magic Mike is live. Good for you, Mike. Hope you have a great stream. So we'll go ahead and hit save, and there you can see the wilderness frequency is there, but I didn't capitalize that, so I'm just gonna long press it, and let's just call this wilderness, sure. Yeah, like that. Whoops, and hit save. Done. So now wilderness. Just that easy. So sending APRS with this radio could almost change my view on APRS. So basically all I'm doing is just kind of touching the map. You see the map. It's got my location. I am literally sitting right here at the K at MRD Proving Grounds. And here is all of the APRS traffic that the radio has picked up. Most of this is from at Hamcation, but the radios don't keep memory. You got to keep that in mind. So have your app connected when you're using this. Once you turn the radio off, all the APRS stuff is gone. But so long as your phone is connected, it saves all of this. So here we can see KM4ACK, my arch nemesis, was beaconing K8MRD is wrong with his APRS beacons the whole weekend. So naturally, somewhere down here we can see I decided that I needed to beacon KM4ACK is a doo-doo head. So that's what I'm beaconing. And the APRS settings couldn't be any easier. Here, let's just do an APRS thing right now. So let's say I want to do a position report. We're gonna hit this plus at the bottom left of the screen, and I'm just gonna hit location. It knows where I am, and I'm gonna hit send. And just like that, this radio is sending out my APRS location. Done. And it's still beaconing KM4ACK as a doo-doo head. But let's say I want to actually send an APRS message. We got to do it all caps, KM4ACK. And then we do, I'm going to do -10. He's got a thing at home. And then we have to put a colon or whatever the two dots are. And let's just say you are still a doo-doo head. And we hit send. And now this radio is transmitting that message. So if I were in range of an iGate or a Digipeater or KM4ACK, the doo-doo head was out here, he would be able to hear that. So APRS with your phone, just like that. That is the easiest APRS interface I've ever seen. Certainly light years above Yaesu. So let's dive into these features here. At the top, next to where it says VR-N76 yellow, oh, we were on the yellow one, so this is the one that was doing it. If we just touch the gear, we've got a lot of the settings on the radio, so we can do a lot of the things that we would normally need to go into the radio for right on the app. So general settings, the very top is your KISS TNC modem. We can turn that on and off. Your APRS channel. So the cool thing when you program, I have my APRS channel on channel 17, and when you set this channel, these radios you can use as dual VFO, and APRS will just be running in the background. So I have mine set to beacon every 5 minutes, and I'm monitoring 5.2 or 446 or 146.45, which is our kind of YouTubers frequency that we use at the festivals. I can have 2 VFOs just monitoring what I want, and every 5 minutes, On channel 17, it'll just switch to channel 17, beacon my position report and KM4ACK as a doo-doo head, and go right back to monitoring the other VFO that I had this set to. So you're really doing 3 VFOs at once, which is really cool. You've got other settings in here. I'm not going to go too deep into it. Like, the radio is very, very intuitive. As my arch nemesis KM4ACK would say, it's so easy, K8MRD can do it. And that is a true, true statement. But here's your microphone gain. Here's the wireless microphone gain, headphone mode, just all kinds of stuff there. Power saving. You can enter the pairing mode there. You can do a factory reset. Let's go back to settings. Down at the bottom here, where it says firmware version, if you touch that, it'll check for updates. I just updated mine, but I'll overlay a thing here. You basically just follow the prompts. It gives you, like, there, it shows if there is an update or not. It'll tell you what the update does. I actually updated both of these. The first one took about 10 minutes to update. The second one took about 20 minutes to update. So do allow some time for firmware updates. But the cool thing is they are actively updating the firmware on here. So very, very easy to use. Again, if we just look down here at the very bottom, we can put the radio into single VFO mode or dual VFO. We can make it scan. We can change the power. If you wanted to listen to FM radio, now we got an FM radio, just like that. And that sounded like, who was that? I know who that was. The beds are burning, Midnight Oil. But it's just really cool. So now let's hit the back button. And down here, we've got APRS. So here is where you can see some other messages for APRS, but let's hit the gear. Here's where you can set up the call sign. So I'm on a different phone than earlier. So now we're on K8MRD-7. You do need to put in a password. If you just Google APRS password generator, you'll find one, and you just put in your call sign and it'll give you a 5-digit number. I think I used, it was like an N5 something. If I can remember, I'll put a link in the description. You do need to put a passcode in here. This thing will work as an iGate. So if you want to set up an iGate, if you're just portable, like we go to Montesano for Huntsville Hamfest, and Jason usually sets up an iGate, you can use this just as an iGate. Done. Turn it on. Now it's an iGate, just like that. Okay. You can choose radio over internet, radio or internet to radio, receive messages via internet, all kinds of stuff. Here you can change which icon you use for your APRS. You can send the power voltage, send operating frequency, message in location report. That's where you would type in KM4ACK is a doo-doo head and hit save. And then the preview there just shows you that that's what you're sending out. So very, very cool. But we also have radio mail because this is a TNC now with, I think it's version 0.80 or higher. You have that TNC function. So I'm going to open up radio mail and I'm going to go to settings. I'm going to turn one of these off just so we don't interfere. And we're going to go down to devices. We've got packet TNC modem where it says default TNC. We're going to click that. And of course, it's not going to work while I'm trying to film a video on it. Oh, you know what? I think I need to close the HT app. And there it is. Yeah, you gotta close the HT app. But now you see VR-N76 is connected. Okay, and we hit done. You can go back to mailboxes. I'm just going to send a position report. So we'll do that, post that to our outbox. And then I've got W5HVL connected. And we'll just hit connect. It's going to find the device. And this, you can see, you don't have to change the frequency on the radio or anything. It just does it. And now we're sending packet Winlink with my cell phone and an HT. I might need a better antenna on this. This gateway is about 5 or 6 miles away from here. So let me cancel that really quick. And I happen to have a signal stick with me. What, you don't keep a signal stick in your pocket? So let's try a different antenna. Might be out of range of that HT antenna. That little rubber duck. So let's try and connect again. Looks like we got 2 messages. We're sending. No, maybe I have 2 messages in my outbox. I sure do. So I'm sending 2 messages right now. packet Winlink, just like that. So how easy was that? Radio Mail is a fantastic app, and I love it, and thank you, George, for making it. And the VR-N76 makes voice communications and 2 different digital communications extremely easy and extremely possible. Now, if we had to change the antenna, but that's not the radio's fault. That's antennas be antennaing, right? But the other thing they advertise about this radio, because I spend a lot of time in the woods, is this is waterproof. Anybody who spends time outside, camping, hiking, fishing, whatever, they say this thing is waterproof. So let's go find that out. We're gonna use this yellow one as a sacrificial lamb. It works just fine now. K8MRD, testing 1, 2. K8MRD, testing 1, 2. But what if it were to accidentally fall into a bog of muck? Oh no. Yeah, it's pretty dirty down there. Let's get this guy out of here. Rinse her off. Oh yeah. Ha! Light's still on. K8MRD, testing 1, 2. K8MRD, testing 1, 2. All right, well, that worked. Whoops! I did it again. Call me Mr. Butterfingers. That's pretty cool. You gotta see this. Look at that. It's still on. Let's transmit into it. K8MRD, testing 1, 2. How cool is that? This radio is underwater and it's still working. Ah. So I'm gonna say yes, it's waterproof. And full disclosure, I shot that scene before I shot any of this, and when I was changing antennas, there was a little bit of water here in the actual antenna port. There's still some dirt on the radio, but I actually ran home because all my batteries were dying because I've been out here for a while doing other stuff. There was really not a lot going on. If I can get this battery off. Underneath the battery, there was a tiny, like you can still see a little bit of water there. So there was a little bit of water ingress, which is totally expected. This seal is what keeps it waterproof. So the battery is totally fine. The radio is totally fine. After being submerged in that bog of eternal stench, works like a champ. So totally waterproof. That's awesome. So now getting back to channel groups, if you travel a lot like I do, you probably don't want to have a whole list of like your home frequencies when you're hundreds and hundreds or thousands of miles away. So by having these in groups, it makes it really easy. So like we hit the gear, we go to channels and groups, and you can see I have Florida, home, and master. So when I originally saved everything in here, I just saved it in one group, and I had like stations I would use in Florida and stations I would use in Texas, and everything was just on one thing, and it was kind of annoying. So I imported all of those channels to this master list. So this has everything. So like you can see Lake Placid, FL Link, those are the 2 that I was using in Florida. Now that was all saved on one group, and you just hit import device files, and it would have all of them in here, and you just name it whatever you want and hit save. But then you hit the plus, and let's just call this video group for you guys and hit save. So now we have this video group. Well, now what channels do I want in here? Everything's on the radio, everything's in here. We just hit this little like link button here, and let's say channel 1, I want 2 meter simplex. Channel 2, 70 centimeter simplex, and channel 3, let's pick, maybe I'm going down to Galveston, let's just pick that Galveston and the other Galveston. And I want actually on channel 17, because I keep APRS on channel 17, we'll put APRS there and hit save. So now I have that video group. So now I have this video group. I'm gonna hit the little arrow icon here, and we'll just save that to group channel 3, and that's done. And then we hit switch device channel group. I'll change it to video group for you guys. And then there we can see on the screen are just those frequencies and channels that we programmed into the radio. It's so awesome and so organized. So I'll go back, switch channel group, and we'll go back to home because I'm in Texas, and go back, and there's all my Texas repeaters. So organizing things on here is really easy. One thing I found you can't do is like insert frequencies. Like if I wanted to put something between 10 and 11, you can't really easily do that. There's no way to insert it. You can overwrite a frequency, but I don't necessarily want to do that. So I kind of figured out if you go to channel and groups and basically just save a group, you can basically make a new group, add all the frequencies you want, and kind of insert a frequency that way, if that makes sense. It's kind of convoluted, and it'll take a little bit of time, not much, but some, and you can go back and rename whatever groups and all that stuff. Just hit the plus and make a new group, and you can kind of reorganize things there. So I would make a new group for home, and then I would just overwrite the home group, if that makes sense. So pretty neat. Now, there are some things that I wish could be improved. One of the things that I hear a lot of guys talking about is the APRS, something to do with like how fast you're moving. I don't think that's really a big deal. I think most of the users for this aren't going to be using this in mobile, so like how fast you're going, I don't think is really a big deal. But the red on the screen, the red letters on the screen gotta go. You can see the white letters on this in total sunshine, daylight, no problem. But even as I'm sitting here looking at it, the VFO that's red, that is the selected VFO, is almost impossible to read. So that's got to be fixed. Vero, please, for the love of God and all things holy, get rid of the red lettering. I don't know whether it's a thing with Chinese radio manufacturers. I see a lot of Baofangs coming out with red lettering now. You cannot see it. Nobody should be putting red letters on the screen of an HT. Make them white. You can see them in night and day, or give us an option. If it's night, maybe red would be a great option. But in the day, you cannot see it. So the red lettering is a horrible, horrible idea for the VFO, and there's no way to change it. Another thing on the radio, and maybe it's because I'm an iOS user, but if we hit menu and go to general settings, and then we go to signaling settings, see how all those are checked? No matter how many times I uncheck those, they will always turn back on, just randomly. So what those do, they're not a bad thing if you want them on, but I turned them off, and somehow they randomly just turn on after some amount of time. I don't turn the radio off, I don't do anything, I'm just using it, and this happened all the time at Florida, and it consistently happens. So what happens is, when these things are checked, it's gonna send all of this information as a digital packet, which sounds like this. I'm gonna transmit with this one, receive with this one. Listen. See how it sends all that stuff? So if we turn the signaling settings off, it doesn't do that anymore. Now, let's turn them back on. And on the radio, we can go into radio settings and turn digital mute on. So when I key up, it mutes those digital signals. But not everybody has a digital mute on the radio, and not everybody wants to hear the packets. This just persistently, look, I'll go on this radio, I guarantee you they'll be on signaling settings. Yep, I turn them off many, many times a day. So they got to fix that in the software. And there's a few other kind of minor annoyances. I did email them. I got a whole list of stuff here. I emailed Vero all of these things. I tried to be polite. Just issues that I'm finding that these can all be fixed with firmware updates, I believe. Some of the things maybe not, because iOS be iOSing, but like the red VFO is kind of number one, as well as the signaling settings just randomly turning on. So when I'm keying up, after some time has lapsed, and I go to make a QSO, they got to hear that digital squelch because the radio just randomly turn it on. You can't make the names long in the app like we just saw when we were labeling the wilderness frequency. But on the radio, there's plenty of real estate on the screen. You can name it whatever you want. You can name it Mecca, Lecca, Hi, Mecca, Hiney, Hiney, Ho if you want. So like Huntsville, I have to abbreviate some of the longer names. Galveston, I have to abbreviate on the app. But you can manually program the names in on here and they show up on the screen just fine. So it would be nice if the app would be able to give us longer namings of our channels. The manuals are horrible. It's a Chinese radio. It is what it is. Fortunately, they're pretty intuitive, so you kind of don't even need to watch YouTube videos to figure it out. They don't tell you really what the settings are or how to use them. And for me, as an iOS user, the manual, there's a manual for the radio and there's a manual for the app. So you get two manuals. The manual for the app only shows Android stuff. And the Android and iOS apps are completely different. The Android app actually has a few more features than the iOS app has. Not really features that I care about, but they are definitely not the same app by any means. I do like the iOS app. I think it's very polished and clean, but it's not the same as the Android app. The APRS messages get deleted once you turn off the radio. I mean, memory is stupid cheap these days. I don't know why it does that, but it does. So that'd be a nice thing to see fixed. You can't really configure multiple radios on APRS because the app is kind of like the master to the radios. The app is always going to send signals to the radios. So if you make a change in the app, it sends it to the radio, which is great. But if you make a change in the radio, it doesn't send it to the app. The app will always override the radio. I don't know if this is something that can be fixed in firmware, but for example, I wanted this to be K8MRD-7 and this to be K8MRD-1, just to have a differentiating number between the two radios. But what happens is, and you can connect, you can go back and forth between the radios on the app, easy peasy. But if this one's K8MRD-1, as soon as I open the app, it's going to automatically switch it to K8MRD-7. So the syncing is only one way. I don't know if that's something that can be fixed, but it would be really nice to see that happen. So I sent all this stuff to Vero. I didn't really get the most comforting response. It wasn't negative or anything, but they basically were like, yeah, good luck with that. So I'm just trying to provide constructive criticism in hopes that this radio can be even better than what it already is. I love this radio. I am absolutely in love with this radio. I find when I leave my house, I want this radio to come with me, and my ICOM ID50 that I absolutely love more than any radio in the world stays at home on my desk. This is the radio that I want to use. So hopefully we can see those features improved. Again, they are releasing firmware updates with quite a bit of regularity. It's not like a Zygu where they just abandon it. Like, this is a thing. This is a fantastic radio. I think they're like 180 bucks. I do have some kind of affiliate link, so I'll throw that down in the description below if you want to grab one. But I'm very, very happy with it, even though it's got some issues. So that's my spiel. It's radio, it's Chinese, it's got some issues, and I'm this geeked about it to make a video and sit here and ramble for however long I've been rambling. So I highly recommend this, and I haven't recommended a Chinese radio in a very long time. So that's all I got for today, kids. My name is Mike, K8MRD. Thanks for watching Ham Radio Tube. We'll see you next time.